Jack, I need to admit something. Yesterday at work, I totally froze. I was trying to explain something to my boss, and suddenly I just couldn't remember a simple word. It felt like my brain just switched off. I was staring at the floor, searching for the word, and I could feel everyone waiting. So embarrassing.
Emma, I've had that happen so many times. It feels like the word is right there, but my mind just goes blank. You know what? Let's talk about why this happens. I think we can figure it out together and maybe even laugh a bit about it.
Oh, I'd love that. Because honestly, it's not just work. Even on the phone with my mom, I sometimes forget the most basic words. It makes me wonder if I'll ever really get comfortable.
I promise, you're not alone. We'll share some ideas, and maybe next time you'll feel a little less nervous when the words run away from you.
Sometimes I think my brain just panics. Like, under pressure, boom, the word is gone. Do you ever feel that too?
Oh, all the time. It's like when someone asks you a simple question and suddenly everything you know just disappears. I once forgot the word umbrella when it was raining.
That's so true. It's funny because I could remember words when I was alone, but in the moment, with people watching, nothing comes out.
It's kind of like stage fright, isn't it? Our brains just get nervous, and I think being worried about making mistakes makes it even harder to remember.
Now that you say it, I think stress is a big part of it. Like, the more I worry about speaking perfectly, the more I forget.
That makes sense. When I'm relaxed, words just flow. But if I'm in a meeting or on a video call, my hands get sweaty and my brain goes on vacation.
Exactly. My heart beats fast, and suddenly, even easy words feel impossible. Last week, I forgot coffee when ordering at a cafe. The barista just waited, and I felt my face go red.
Oh, I've been there. It's like the words hide just because we want them so much. Maybe if we could relax more, things would come easier.
It's funny though. When I'm alone, I can remember everything. It's only around people that the words disappear. Does that happen to you too?
Definitely. Like, I'll be practicing in my head, and I know the word, but then a friend asks me something and suddenly I'm lost for words. I think it's because we're trying to do so many things at once. Listen, think, talk, our brains just get tired.
That's so true. Sometimes I even forget words in my own language when I'm tired or distracted. So maybe it's not just English, it's being human.
Exactly, it happens to everyone. I think those little brain breaks are normal. We just notice it more because we're speaking a second language.
Honestly, hearing you say that makes me feel better. Maybe I don't have to be so hard on myself when I forget.
I'm glad. Nobody speaks perfectly all the time. I still mix up words or pause to think. It's just part of the journey.
Maybe next time it happens, I'll just smile, take a breath, and laugh a little. It's not such a big deal.
That's the spirit! And hey, we can always help each other find those missing words. It makes the conversation more real and a bit more fun, too.
You ever have one of those moments where you're in the middle of saying something and suddenly, poof, the word you need is just gone? I swear, it happens to me at least once a day. Usually right when I'm trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about at work.
It's the worst! I'll be on a phone call, trying to make a good impression, and suddenly my brain just blanks. Like, I'm telling someone about a project and I can't for the life of me remember the word timeline. All I get is this weird silence while I desperately try to fill the gap.
Exactly. My go-to move is to awkwardly laugh and hope the other person jumps in and saves me. Sometimes they do, but sometimes there's just this super long pause. You can feel both of you quietly panicking.
And of course, the second you hang up, the word pops right back into your head like, wow, thanks, brain. Where were you 3 minutes ago when I actually needed you?
I had a moment like that yesterday at the grocery store. I ran into a neighbor, and for the life of me, I could not remember her name. My mind went totally blank, so I just blurted out a generic, "Hey you, how's it going?"
Oh, I've been there. Sometimes I'll start a sentence and then immediately forget where I was going with it. I'll just trail off, pretending I got distracted by my phone or something. Meanwhile, my heart's racing because I know they're waiting for me to finish the thought.
That's exactly it. There's this mini wave of panic that hits like, why can't I do this simple thing right now? It's weird how it feels so much bigger than it actually is.
And what's wild is, the other person is probably just as uncomfortable. They might even be forgetting something in that same moment. Makes you wonder how many conversations are just people secretly scrambling for words.
Funny thing is, sometimes I try to play it off by inventing a new word or using wild hand gestures. Like, the thingamajig, the whatchamacallit. Hopeful someone will just guess for me.
That cracks me up, because my family does the same. My dad's classic is just making a noise, like the until someone shouts out what he means. It's like a family game at this point.
I love that. And sometimes when someone else figures out my missing word, I'm just so relieved. It's like getting rescued from a stranded island or something.
Totally. The best is when it happens in a group and everyone starts throwing out random words until one finally sticks. It's a team effort, really.
You know what's frustrating? Hours later, I'll suddenly remember the exact word I was searching for. Like when I'm brushing my teeth before bed and suddenly, oh, timeline, that's the word!
I laugh every time that happens. I'll even consider texting the person just to let them know I finally remembered. Of course, by then it's way too late, so I just end up talking to myself in the kitchen.
If only our brains could deliver on time. It's like a delayed delivery service, reliable, but never punctual.
Exactly. It's like your mind is running on its own schedule, totally ignoring when you actually needed that info.
Honestly, the more I talk about it, the more I realize everyone goes through this. It's almost comforting, knowing we're all just making it up as we go.
That's the best part, being able to laugh about it and swap stories. Makes it feel way less embarrassing when you know you're not the only one.
Absolutely. Next time my brain blanks out, I'll just picture all of us out there, silently struggling to remember our words. It's a little community of forgetfulness.
And hey, maybe that's the real human connection, bonding over those tiny, awkward moments we all share. It definitely makes everyday life a little more interesting.
Last night during my Spanish class, I just completely froze. Couldn't remember how to say umbrella. It's like my brain just wiped it out. Have you ever had that happen when you're speaking another language?
Oh, all the time. I was at a cafe in Paris, trying to order, and suddenly the word for milk escaped me. I could picture the carton, even the sound of the word lingered, but nothing came out. It's honestly such a weird feeling.
It's so frustrating, especially when you know you've studied the word before. I wonder if it's just nerves, or if there's something else going on in our heads.
You know, I think a big part of it is that I'm always translating from English in my head. Instead of just blurting out the word in the other language, I go through this mental checklist: English to French or Spanish, then back again if I get lost.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I catch myself doing that too, mentally flipping the dictionary before I speak. It's like my brain is running a slow translation app instead of just speaking naturally.
Exactly. And while I'm busy juggling the translation, the conversation just moves on without me. By the time I think I've got the right word, it feels like I've missed my chance.
Right, and then you start worrying you'll sound silly or make a mistake, which just makes it harder to remember anything at all.
I totally get that. The fear of messing up sometimes makes my mind go blank, especially if I'm talking with someone I want to impress. It's almost like the pressure shuts down the language part of my brain.
Funny you say that. The more I stress about mistakes, the more I forget. Last week, I was chatting with a native speaker, and I felt so self-conscious that even basic words slipped away.
I've had something like that happen too. When I'm relaxed, I can pull up vocabulary a lot more easily, but as soon as I get nervous, it's like the words just scatter.
It's wild how anxiety can hijack everything you've learned. Sometimes I wonder if repeating words out loud more often would help lock them in.
Maybe. Because when I just memorize words in my notebook but never use them in real life, they seem to vanish when I actually need them. It's like they're stuck on the page instead of in my head.
I know exactly what you mean. I can write lists of vocabulary all day, but unless I try to drop them into a sentence or a conversation, they don't stick around for long.
Yeah, my old flashcards are basically a graveyard for lost words. The ones I remember are usually the ones I've fumbled through in actual conversations, even if I got them wrong at first.
That's reassuring, actually. Maybe making mistakes is part of the process. At least it makes the word memorable.
Definitely. There's this one time I mixed up library and bookstore. I got a laugh from everyone, but now I never forget which is which.
So it sounds like forgetting words isn't just a sign of bad memory. It's more about how we practice, how much pressure we put on ourselves, and maybe even the way we approach speaking.
Absolutely, and honestly, I think being kinder to ourselves helps too. Every time I let go of the fear of sounding silly, the words seem to come more easily.
Maybe next time I blank out, I'll just laugh it off and keep going. After all, it's all part of learning, right?
Exactly. And who knows? Your little slip-up might end up being what helps you remember that word forever. It's all progress in disguise.
So, before we get into the serious stuff, can I admit something? When I first started learning Spanish, I was obsessed with memorizing huge lists of random vocabulary, like hundreds of fruit names I've still never used.
Haha, I relate way too much. Back when I tried to pick up Italian, I had this notebook jammed with adjectives, but I could barely string a sentence together. It felt like collecting puzzle pieces without knowing what picture I was making.
Exactly. I remember feeling so proud when I could recite like 20 colors in a row until I realized no one ever asked me to list all the colors of the rainbow in conversation.
Oh, the irony! I spent weeks drilling animal names zebra, kangaroo, peacock. Meanwhile, all I really needed was to order coffee without panicking. Those early mistakes are kind of hilarious looking back.
Now that you mention it, why do you think we gravitate toward memorizing these endless lists at the beginning? I always felt like I was being productive, but I wasn't actually communicating.
I think it's because it feels safe, you know? Memorizing lists gives you that illusion of progress. You see numbers growing, words stacking up, but then you freeze up when someone just asks how your day was.
So true. I'd ace my flashcards, then totally blank on simple chats. It's almost like collecting ingredients, but never learning to cook.
Yes, and the conversations I avoided were way more valuable than any stack of vocabulary cards. It took me forever to realize my real gap was using the words, not just knowing them.
That actually reminds me of another big mistake I used to wait for ages before I dared say anything out loud. I kept thinking, I'll start speaking when I can do it without mistakes. Spoiler. That day never really arrives.
Oh wow, I did the same thing. I'd rehearse sentences silently for days, terrified I'd mess up if I spoke out loud. Meanwhile, my progress was crawling.
Looking back, it's funny how we both imagined some magical moment when all the grammar would just click and we'd sound fluent instantly.
The best conversations I've had happened when I just took the plunge, mistakes and all. Honestly, the awkward moments are the ones I remember and laugh about the most.
I've had something like that happen too with grammar. I used to get absolutely stuck on trying to remember all the verb endings before even attempting a conversation.
That drove me up the wall. I'd spend hours on grammar exercises, worrying about every tiny detail, and end up too nervous to actually speak. I wish I'd realized sooner that the rules matter less than just making yourself understood.
It's such a relief to let go of that pressure. Half the time, people get what you're trying to say, even if you mangle the tense or mix up the endings.
My favorite conversations now are the messy ones, honestly. That's when the real learning happens, and it's way more fun than obsessing over grammar charts.
So, Thinking about all these classic mistakes, word lists, waiting to be perfect, grammar obsession, it makes me appreciate how much more relaxed and effective my learning is now.
Totally, and honestly, those blunders turned into my best stories. Like the time I mixed up Paulo and Paulo in a restaurant and wound up ordering a weird chicken dish, my friends still tease me about it.
It's those cringy moments that actually stick, right? Now, I try to see every slip-up as just proof I'm actually using the language way better than keeping everything locked up in my head.
Absolutely. If anyone listening feels embarrassed by their mistakes, just remember, we've all been there, and usually they make for the best memories and a lot of laughs down the road.
So, last month, I started doing something that felt almost silly at first. I tried to think in tiny bits of English throughout my day. Like, instead of planning out full sentences, I'd just think, need coffee or sunny outside. I was surprised how much it helped.
That's really interesting because my brain always wants to make everything a full sentence, like I'm writing an essay in my head. But you're saying even just those little fragments make a difference?
Totally. It took off the pressure. I realized my brain didn't freeze up as much when I let myself think in those bite-sized pieces. It made English feel more like, well, a tool for everyday stuff, instead of a big challenge.
Honestly, I like that idea. Sometimes a whole sentence just feels impossible, especially when I'm tired or in a rush. So it's almost like giving yourself permission to just be simple?
Exactly, and that ties into something else I found. Letting go of the panic when I forget a word. Before, I'd freeze or feel embarrassed if I blanked out. But now, if I forget, I just describe it or move on.
There's so much relief in that. I used to get stuck, like, what's the word for? And then lose my train of thought completely. But I've started using little tricks, like describing the color or what it's used for, and people still get me.
Yes, and sometimes I'll even laugh it off like, the thing for the window. Curtain. It turns out people are super understanding, as long as you keep going.
You know, just last week I had to talk about a screwdriver, but couldn't remember the word, so I called it a fixing tool. Not perfect, but it worked. Makes conversations a lot less stressful.
That actually reminds me some of my best practice comes from talking about basic, daily things. I used to think I'd need special topics, but honestly, chatting about what I had for lunch or how my morning was is real practice.
I know exactly what you mean. I used to wait for interesting stories, but now I just start with, today I took the bus, or I tried a new recipe. It gets me speaking without the pressure of sounding clever.
Right, and it's way less intimidating. Plus, it's stuff you actually want to say, so it feels more natural. Sometimes I even narrate what I'm doing to myself, like, now I'm making tea.
I do that when I'm alone too. It almost turns into a little game. How many normal things can I describe in English before I run out of steam?
Funny you say that about running out of steam, because one thing I had to learn was not to chase perfection. My sentences are messy sometimes, and that's fine. The important thing is just getting the idea across.
What surprised me most is how forgiving people actually are. I worried so much about making mistakes, but most folks just care that you're trying, not that every word is perfect.
Absolutely. And honestly, it takes so much pressure off when I remind myself that a conversation isn't a grammar test. It's just a way to connect, even if it's clumsy at times.
Yeah, and that attitude makes it easier to jump in, like, even if I mess up, I know the world won't end. That's been freeing.
You know, the more playful I get with it, the better I remember things. Sometimes I'll make up goofy stories or use silly voices just to keep it fun. It keeps me coming back instead of dreading practice.
I can relate. I once practiced by pretending I was giving a cooking show in English, just walking myself through making a sandwich. It sounds ridiculous, but it made the language stick so much better.
Exactly. I feel like the less seriously I take myself, the faster I improve. Plus, it makes the process way more enjoyable.
totally agree. At the end of the day, it's about building confidence, not just vocabulary, and a little laughter along the way definitely helps that happen.
You know, what cracks me up is how much smoother conversations go when you're just relaxed and not worrying about mistakes. I mean, who needs that classroom pressure vibe?
No kidding. Some of my best progress happened chatting over coffee with a friend, just tossing phrases back and forth. It takes the edge off and suddenly learning feels way less intimidating.
Absolutely. The best bits are when you can laugh at a mix-up or two and keep rolling. Honestly, that's when words really start to stick.
Yeah, and when you're not worried about being perfect, you actually experiment more. That's how the language kind of becomes yours.
Speaking of experimenting, have you ever found yourself just blurting out a phrase, then realizing you picked it up from some random TV show?
All the time. Sometimes I'll throw out a sentence and it's not textbook at all, but it's how real people talk. That's half the fun learning little shortcuts or slang you'd never hear in a formal lesson.
Exactly. And when you're with someone friendly, there's no fear of looking silly. I've learned more from relaxed chats than any grammar worksheet.
I totally get it. It's like the pressure just melts away. And honestly, that's when you surprise yourself the most.
Actually, this gives me an idea. What if we tried tossing around a few super simple sentences right now? No stress, just for fun.
Oh, that sounds perfect. I always feel more comfortable practicing with someone I trust. Let's keep it light. Maybe start with something like, I like coffee, or today is sunny?
Love it. How about I say, I have a cat, and you try one back? Totally no judgment, just seeing what pops into our heads.
All right, here goes. My cat likes to sleep. See, this actually feels kind of cozy, like we're building a little story together.
That was great. And honestly, if you ever wanted a tiny tweak or tip, I'd just mention it in the friendliest way. Like maybe switch likes to loves if your cat's really obsessed.
That's the best way to learn no red pens. Just a quick suggestion. I remember once I kept mixing up in and on, and my friend would just gently slip in the right one. Way less scary than being called out.
Exactly. It's those little nudges that stick with you. Plus, it keeps the vibe open, so nobody feels embarrassed to try.
And that's when language becomes something you want to use, not something you're dreading. The confidence kind of sneaks up on you.
You know, after doing this a few times, it almost feels like second nature to sneak in a quick practice sentence during the day. It could be while making coffee or even texting a friend.
Totally. I'll catch myself thinking in another language while waiting for the bus or describing what I see out loud. Those tiny moments add up, and suddenly you realize you're actually using the language without thinking.
That's so true. And the best part is, it never feels like homework. It's just part of your day.
Exactly. When practice feels this easy and natural, it's way more likely to stick. Makes me want to keep going and see what else I can say next time.
You know, I still remember the first time I totally blanked on a really common English word in front of a group. I felt so awkward, but looking back, it was honestly no big deal.
That kind of thing happens to everyone. The other day, I couldn't remember the word umbrella of all things. My mind just went totally blank for a few seconds. It reminded me how natural that is for anyone, even if you use English every day.
It's comforting to hear that. We put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect. But those moments just prove we're human. Forgetting a word is usually just a blip, not a disaster.
Right, and sometimes those little slips actually make conversations more memorable. People laugh, and you end up learning the word even better next time.
So true. Chasing perfection just adds stress. What really builds fluency is sticking with it, showing up for yourself regularly, even if it's just 10 minutes a day.
Absolutely like. I often tell my students that fluency isn't about knowing every single word, but about practicing often enough that speaking becomes comfortable. Even a little bit each day stacks up over time.
It's a bit like exercise, isn't it? You don't get in shape overnight, but small, steady steps make all the difference. And sometimes, Just showing up is a win.
Yeah, and the best part is it can be fun. Listening to podcasts, chatting with a friend, or just thinking in English during your commute, it all counts.
You know, a lot of listeners tell us they worry so much about making mistakes that they freeze up. I've been there too.
What's wild is, sometimes those mistakes actually help you connect with people. When you mess up, someone might jump in to help, or you might share a laugh suddenly. It's not so scary.
I remember one time a friend mixed up kitchen and chicken. We both cracked up and she never forgot the difference after that. So, if you're listening and feeling nervous, know that mistakes are just stepping stones.
Exactly, they're proof you're trying and learning. If you're waiting until you're perfect to speak, you'll never start. Just go for it even if you stumble. You're making progress.
Thinking about it, so much of learning a language is celebrating those tiny victories. Maybe you understood a new phrase today or made someone laugh. That really matters.
Those moments are honestly the best. Like when you finally order coffee in English and the barista understands you right away, it's such a confidence boost.
And even if you trip up, just getting out there and trying is worth celebrating. We should all be kinder to ourselves in this process.
Definitely. Progress is rarely a straight line, but every effort brings you closer to where you want to be. Give yourself that credit.
Before we wrap up, I just want to remind everyone, you're doing better than you think. Every minute you spend with us here at Learn English Pod is a step forward.
Thanks for letting us be part of your journey. If you ever feel stuck, remember you're not alone. Millions of learners face the same challenges, and we're cheering you on.
Take a deep breath, celebrate your progress, and keep coming back. We love having you as part of this community.
Wishing you all a gentle, encouraging week ahead. Keep speaking, keep smiling, and we'll see you next time on Learn English Pod. Good night, everyone.